And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Giangelo's here in Boardman, the official home of YSN and the South Range Raiders Show. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the head football coach, Mr. David Rach. Point to ovation, sir.
Yeah, I don't deserve it.
You do deserve it. A big win over Niles on the road, the last away game, I should say, of the season until the playoffs, hopefully for the next 4 weeks, right?
Yeah, well,
that's an environment that people don't realize. That is an intimidating environment, and Niles can bring a lot of fans. They did on Friday, but you guys came out swinging, my friend. Talk about that game plan going into the game and the execution of it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Coach Mancuso and some of the coaches in pregame, and I said, I think I'm maybe 2-6 as a player and as a coach over at Niles. So tough place to play, but I was really proud of the effort that our kids gave. I thought we started really fast, and it was nice that I think a lot of things that we've been working on in practice and really trying to focus on kind of came to fruition. And I thought our kids did a really good job executing at a high level. And I think to some degree, they realized like they could see some of the finish line. I think they understood that, with a win, we were guaranteed a share of the NE8. And that was something that, early on in the season, we talked a lot about, wanting to get there. So just really proud of the kids, the way they executed, under a lot of pressure in a tough environment.
And I think for the first time in forever, maybe since you played, there was a 100-yard rusher in Antoine Gardner. He's going to get his. I think that's
Sure.
what you have to understand, and you did. He's going to get his, but you have to be able to limit what everybody else gets. 2 touchdowns from the young man. He is a legit running back, and he's very, very good. How did you contain him to what he had as opposed to what he potentially could have had against you?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a great player, and we've seen him now, I think, 3 times. He's carrying the ball as a young guy there, and every year you come away more and more impressed. I remember him as a freshman, and us watching him on film and saying, wow, this guy's, already really good. So he's only gotten better. But I think Coach Mancuso had a great plan, and it was kind of to keep it simple, and I thought our kids did a great job of executing at a high level, and our kids did a great job of getting on the same page with Coach Mancuso and kind of figuring out, what he wanted. And they did a great job, I thought, of playing team defense, which, again, anytime you play a back like him, you have to defend him with 11 guys. It takes corners and safeties and the D-line and just a high level of discipline and gap integrity, and they did a great job of kind of keeping him balled up as much as possible. Again, like you said, he's a great player. He's going to get his.
So we get into the second half. You guys have, a running clock going, and the one thing that I noticed was the penalties started to stack up a little bit. From your perspective as the CEO of the South Range Raider football team, when you're starting to see those penalties rack up, how do you kind of slow it down? How do you kind of back things up? Do you take a time out there and let the kids take a breath? What do you do to kind of identify that as this could potentially be a problem?
You know what? I think, and this has been an ongoing thing for us. If you look at our stats over the past couple of weeks and we pay attention to how much we're penalized and what kind of penalties they are. To me, there's kind of 2 categories of penalties. You have aggressive penalties, then you have, kind of foolish penalties.
Yeah.
And the majority of our penalty yards have been aggressive penalties, which I can kind of live with.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything dirty or cheap about the way our kids play. I think when you're playing really hard, you have to kind of take the good with the bad in terms of some of that stuff. But, I think a lot of times, it's just about, talking to the kids and telling them we got to maintain our poise a little bit better. And I think a lot of it, too, is just situationally. Sometimes, we maybe put ourselves in situations where, I don't know, officials are more likely to make calls. So I think that's part of it. But, again, I don't know that we have a discipline problem. I don't think we do.
No.
But I do think that there's times where we need to be cleaner. And, at the end of the day, if you're getting penalized for 135 yards, we need to correct that. And we're working hard on that.
How difficult is it to make sure those penalties don't take the wind out of your sails? Because, it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, a lot of these penalties, we joke around about Dylan Semesco. I think he's had 4 touchdowns called back on holdings or clippings or, whatever else throughout the course of the year. So, I think our kids are a really resilient group. And I'd like to tell you that, the way we practice or us as coaches have something to do with that. The truth is, I think they come from tough backgrounds and tough families. So I think our kids are really good about just bouncing back and playing the next play. And it's something that we've talked about a lot about just in terms of, we've got to get, good or bad, line up, play the next play. So, I'm really proud of how our kids do that.
Interesting week this week. Week 9, typically the week that you would play Jefferson. Not the case this year. They're out of the NE8. Insert Louisville. They're having a tough year. Is it tough to keep focused on a team not in conference play this late in the season?
I don't think so. Last time we went over to Louisville, I guess it would have been maybe 2018 season.
Yes.
2018 season. And I'll tell you what, I think our kids were kind of, taken aback by seeing them come out of the tunnel and thinking, holy cow, this is a different animal. So our kids have a ton of respect for that program. And again, I think it's easy to say, well, their record is A, B, and C. But, when you look at their schedule, I don't know how many teams in our area wouldn't be struggling to be having the same results against that schedule. I mean, it's a Fed team every week. Their non-league schedule is absolutely brutal. And, I don't think their record is any indication of what kind of football team they are. So our kids understand the challenge that we have this week. And I think, in addition to that, our guys understand, whatever our long-term goals are, the days in between now and then are counting down, and you only get so many of them. So we're trying to get better every week.
Looking back at the Niles game, there was a lot of progress. We saw a lot through the passing game. Brady Crumbacher had a whale of a game on all three phases. Tristan obviously was connecting. Gavin was hitting. You guys seem to be getting strong. And I think I asked you this question last week, but I have to ask you again. To you as a coach, usually these kids are kind of petering out at this point in the year because they see the finish line. The finish line to you isn't week 10. The finish line to you is week 16. Is it easier for you, I guess understanding that they know what it takes to win a state championship? This coaching staff, this player roster knows what it takes to win a state championship, and you're built for the long haul. Is it easy for you now to go look there and be like, hey, guys, we're only halfway through the season?
I don't know. I think if you go back to last year, what got us to the state championship was, I think, just a byproduct of us working really hard, every day of practice and just taking it as far as we could. And, I think our kids have kind of adopted that same, mantra in terms of, we're going to show up and we're going to work as hard as we can. And, we know at some point, the road ends, whether it's good or bad. At some point you played the last game and those days are counting down, and we're doing the best we can in terms of trying to see how good we can get as a football team. And I think our kids are motivated by that and driven by that and work really hard and take it seriously. We're trying to be the best team we can be wherever that takes us. And part of that is just, working our tails off every day and seeing what happens.
It's senior superlative time for your question this week. When you were a high school senior, David Rach was most likely to blank.
You know what? I'm not proud of this, but I was I was voted the biggest brown noser.
Really?
Yeah, which I don't understand that, but I was the biggest brown noser.
You want me to explain what a brown noser is?
I get it.
Okay.
But I was also the most spirited, which I think I earned that one, honestly.
I think you got that one,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Nobody's got more South Range spirit than you. David Rach, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
We'll be back with JPJ when we come back